ミサ、なまったんじゃない？
鈴鹿。
じゃあねー。
Hello everyone, Casey here, and welcome to my review for Mitsurugi Kamui Hikae. Mitsurugi Kamui Hikae is an arena-based hack-and-slash style game developed by Zenith Blue, where you play as a warrior maiden tasked with the objective to hunt down her best friend who has stolen an ancient sword known as the Demon Blade. As awesome as that may sound, the game is, however, a bit more straightforward. This game is an arena wave-based brawler through and through. There are no puzzles, platforming, or traditional levels. You play in a circle arena that the backgrounds vary from time to time on, and you fight. That's really about it. However, just because it may lack some content in some places, I personally think that it makes up for it in other places. Mitsurugi can be one of the easiest games you've ever played, or it can quite possibly be one of the single hardest experiences you'll ever face in a game. Of course, this depends entirely on which difficulty you choose, and how you choose to level up your character early on. The game features a relatively nice upgrade system, while being rather simplistic, offers a nice way to upgrade your basic attacks, sword attacks, and of course the all-powerful divine abilities. Early on in the game, I found myself at quite a loss, not knowing exactly what I was doing, but I seemed to be getting by just fine with mashing buttons and hoping for the best. This method, though, proved to be worthless rather quickly once I came across the first stage boss. After a few failed attempts, I backed out and went into the tutorial, which I previously skipped in hopes to just get straight into the action. This is where one of my first complaints come into play. The tutorial in the game is pretty bad. It'll teach you just the most basic of moves and mechanics, leaving the massive and sometimes quite intricate combos completely up to the player to figure out. Once I realized that the tutorial wasn't going to offer me any saving grace, I headed back into the boss battle and played for quite some time before I started to realize patterns and open frames to attack. So where am I getting with all of this? The fact that the game switches up its style rather suddenly when it comes to the boss fights. In the normal enemy waves, it pretty much is a slaughter fest. You rack up crazy amounts of kills doing insane combos, but then once the boss appears, everything changes. You no longer are on the offensive, but rather the defensive. An element I admit I didn't catch onto right away, and one that I rather quite like. As far as enemies go, unfortunately this is another weak spot. There are very few different enemies. For the most part, you'll be fighting against palette swap business suits and what looks like, I don't know, small Metal Gears. Things, however, do get a bit more interesting when it comes to boss designs. They are pretty well made, and quite honestly, a lot of them are fun to fight. They offer awesome challenges. I just had hoped that with a game that focuses almost entirely on one single aspect of a game, fighting bad guys, that they would have a bit more variety to who you go up against. Unfortunately, that's just simply not the case. The mechanics of the game itself are rather nice, one of those easy to learn, hard to master style games. Basic combos are easy to perform, which will get you decently far, but the longer and much more complicated combos, while dealing a lot more damage and earning you more skill points, are also extremely satisfying to see play out on the screen. This game will make you grip your controller and do things to it that you've probably never done before. Thing is, it comes pretty natural, at least it did for myself, making the whole experience rather nice. The game will only take you about an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours to complete, depending on your skill level. And once you upgrade your character and get a hang for the controls, I could easily see completing this game in about a half hour to maybe an hour. So it's rather short, but fortunately, it has quite a bit of replayability, especially if you want to unlock the alternate costumes that cost an absurd amount of skill points. So in conclusion, the game is a bit rough around the corners, but where it matters, it strikes gold. The combat is fast and responsive, allowing the player to determine just how complex they wish to make their experience. The soundtrack is rather boring and you'll often hear the same loop over and over again. The graphics of the game are sort of mixed. The environments are pretty stale and nothing all that special, but the character models are highly detailed and quite beautiful. In my opinion, for the price of this game, about $10 US, you get a pretty awesome experience. My final score for Mitsurugi Kamui Hikae is a 7 out of 10, a better than average experience. While it may not be for everyone, the game is still pretty kick-ass and addictive. I hope you enjoyed my review for Mitsurugi. If you did, please be sure to click that thumbs up button and subscribe to stay up to date with our latest videos and reviews. Well, until next time, guys.